People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
I like Wes Iseli. I like everything about him.
All right, on today's episode, we have one of the nicest street performers I have ever seen in my life. She does an amazing job without that hard edge that most street performers have. I recently met her at a magic convention. We hit it off, and we literally talked magic and business for several hours over the past few weeks since. She is not only an amazing person, but an amazing magician as well. Everybody, it's Alyx Hilshey. What's up, girl? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing really good. How are you, Wes?
I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off today, but I'm here and I'm ready to do this. Let's get started.
All right, sounds good.
So, how'd you get started in magic? Let's start at the very beginning. Why not?
Oh, well, I actually have like a really typical story that everybody kind of tells. My grandpa sent me a magic kit when I was 6 years old, but it was a legit magic kit. It came from this like magic store down in Florida called Old Town Magic, and they put together like real tricks like a zombie ball and slush powder and a little cups and balls set, and it came with a VHS. And so I was 6 years old, and
6 years old, wow.
Yeah, and I learned how to do all that stuff, and then I went down to visit my grandpa in Florida, and he took me to the magic store, and that like set the hook. And this guy, he demonstrated all these tricks, and my grandpa bought me a pair of thumb cuffs and a little, a hot rod. And I think I also got a stratosphere. I was like luckiest kid ever. And I did my first show when I was 7 years old for a bunch of kindergarten students who were just like 1 year younger than me. And I kept doing school shows for the next couple of years, and I would always just do like the grade below me. And yeah, that's kind of how I got started. I was 6, and it was cool.
I didn't have my first zombie ball until I was 18 years old. I read about it in a catalog and had to have one. You had a heck of a head start, girl.
I was really lucky, and oh my god, those catalogs were so cool. I remember poring over, I had a Tannins catalog, and I had a Hank Lee's catalog, and Hank Lee's was like really, really fat. And I remember like being like 7 or 8 and reading all those descriptions, and it'd be like one paragraph ad copy, and oh my god, all those tricks sounded so cool. So totally.
I love it. I went. I think I was with Natalie. We went up there to Salem 1 year for Halloween. We thought it'd be fun. She was pregnant with Lana, with our oldest, and we stopped by
cool.
Hank Lee's Magic Factory right before everything hit the wall with him and everything. And
right.
I was like, I want to tour the factory, and they're like, it's just the storefront. There is no factory.
Oh.
I was so bummed, man. That was 10 years ago, so I still bought it.
Like back there making magic. Yeah.
I was like, I thought, not elves, but I mean, I thought it'd be a warehouse. Like Murphy's Magic has the pictures of the warehouse and everything. I'm like, man, I'll keep my hands in my pocket. I just want to see this. And they're like, no, there's no factory.
Oh, I never got to go to the store, but I used to go to his conclave every year, like starting on like 1996, and I would go with my dad, and it was super fun. And he would go and like check out all the lectures, and he wasn't really a magician, but he really enjoyed like he had like 2 or 3 tricks he would do, and he liked the lectures. But I would hang out in the dealer's room with Al Cohen from Washington.
Wow.
And he was like the best dealer ever. And I would save up my money like all year, and I would spend like all of it on Al Cohen because he was such a good demonstrator. And it's really cool.
I mean, when Natalie and I were dating, we'd go to a magic shop, and eventually she just like, I'll see you later. And she'd go shopping, and I'd just sit in the magic shop for 8 hours.
Right, yeah, I know.
I stuck it out for as long as I could. I asked questions about a bunch of different things, and he'd show me stuff. But then when he started looking at stuff for the 3rd and 4th time, over again, I was like, I think I'm going to go now.
Yeah, you had better things to do. I hear you. Yeah.
But us magicians, we understand. I totally get it. You just, Mark Mason scares me. He's such a good demonstrator. He makes everything look fun. You have to have it. If you want to have as much fun as him, you have to have it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've only ever met him once, and it was at another conclave many years later. I was like in college, and he was demonstrating his "Come Fly with Me" with the giant silver Morgans, and oh my gosh, I pined over those Morgans for so long. And actually, my mentor at the time was this big Italian guy, and he was kind of like a big gentle giant, but he was like a huge man. His name was John Blake, and he was a dealer there too. And I remember he was haggling with Mark Mason on my behalf, trying to get him down. And it was just kind of funny to listen to this guy from New York City, John Blake, my mentor, haggling with this guy from the UK, and it was pretty cool. It was
Wow.
really neat. Yeah.
Well, see, I'm not a haggler, but Hal helped me out at one time. I was trying to get an illusion, and he was like, just offer him something less. If he doesn't take it, he doesn't take it. Yeah, Hal, but he's got it marked as a price. And Hal's like, let me do the talking.
Oh, that's so cool.
I love Hal.
Oh, I love Hal. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I think we have a mutual admiration for Hal Myers. He's really wonderful.
Hal's awesome. We'll get to him later on, because I want to know how you got to know him. But your dad and grandpa, were they both into magic? They just...
You know, I think they weren't. I think my grandpa kind of started it just because he was wandering through a mall, and there was a magic store, and he went in there, and, I think he just thought that for whatever reason he thought I might like that stuff. But it was totally by chance, and, and for whatever reason, like, the hook was set, and I just loved magic, and, it was a really wonderful part of my childhood. At a certain point, I did kind of leave it, and I think, I think that I thought I was, like, too cool for magic or something, and I didn't realize that magic was probably too cool for me. But I did leave it until I was about 19, and then I was working as a waitress, and I was thinking, like, oh, I could really boost my tips if I did some of those old magic tricks at these tables. And I didn't even know that, like, restaurant magic was a thing at this time. Like, I thought that I had, like, invented the idea. So I dug out this old trunk that had belonged to my grandfather, like, full of my old magic, and I started doing little tricks at the tables, and my tips started exploding, and then all of a sudden, I was getting, like, regular patrons, but I was still a waitress. Like, I still had to serve food and, like, make barista drinks and serve, everything. And so I would be, like, quadruple sat. Like, the whole restaurant would be, like, empty except for my section. And so it was kind of problematic on lots of levels. So I quit being a server, and I started doing magic at a little, like, a lounge whenever I was in college and things like that. And, it was kind of neat.
Wow. What did you go to college for?
Pardon?
What did you go to college for?
Oh, well, I went to college for engineering, so not super related to magic, and
everything's related to magic. Everything's related to magic some way.
Yeah, right. Well, I think that I wish, like, that I had gone for, like, acting or directing or something. But someday I'm gonna be like Mario the Maker, and I'm gonna make, like, electronic tricks, because I should be able to do that, right?
You should be able to. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually used to teach a class on microcontrollers. And I think that's, like, what he does is he makes magic with that stuff. So I should definitely put that to use. But yeah, so I went to college, and then I finished up college, and then I just kind of worked, like, little part-time gigs here and there. And then I was studying under John Blake, the magician from New York City. He was, like, the owner of Tannen's, which was a huge magic shop in New York City. It's still around, but under different ownership. And and so John was my mentor, and I thought I was going to be a stage manipulator, and he taught me card manipulation and ball manipulation, and he would, like, after our lessons, we'd, like, watch these videos of, like, the old master manipulators, like Fraxon with his cigarettes, and, like, I almost thought that I should become a smoker just so I could, be like Fraxon, and, but then I was traveling with him up to a Hankley's conclave, like I mentioned, and the person who was next to our dealer's booth, or John's dealer's booth, was Cosmo, and Cosmo has Real Magic Magazine, but he's also one of the best street performers in the world. And he spent that whole weekend telling me that, like, you know, there's no business in being a stage manipulator. Like, you'll never get gigs, but you could be a street magician and you'd have a living for the rest of your life. And I thought he was kind of crazy. I'm like, what? Like, that's for like, I thought maybe that was like for homeless people or something. Like, I didn't really understand it. But he planted the seed, and then about a year later, I was going to go to graduate school up in New England, and I moved to the town, and there was like this pedestrian street with tons and tons of people, and there were people playing like musical instruments and getting tipped. And I thought, wow, like, this is what Cosmo was talking about. Like, I could do a magic show here. And so I started street performing, and my first show was for like one family, and it was like a 7-minute show, and they gave me $20. And then 5 minutes later, I did another show for like maybe 3 people, and I made $15. And so in like 25 or 30 minutes, I made $35. And then it started raining, and I went into a coffee shop, and I felt like I was drinking coffee with free money. It was kind of cool. And then I was a street performer all summer before grad school, and ended up actually working with Cosmo for a week, and that was a really cool experience. Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Yeah. Cosmo blew us away. He went to MAES. It might have been 11 years ago. Was it before Lana? The year Lana was born. But he's, you know, his Bermuda shirt and Bermuda shorts, and just so laid back, and he looks like a hippie or a stoner or whatever, and it's like, you know, and then his magic blows you away, and it's like, no, dude, no, I totally, and that's the best kind too, because you weren't expecting, you know, when somebody gives you a movie recommendation and says this is the best movie you've ever seen, that's kind of a bad thing. You know, this won 7 Oscars, and you go into it and it was okay, but if you go in there thinking it's going to be an okay movie and then it blows you away, well, that's how Cosmo was. I was expecting nothing, and I was like, whoa, and I had to come and tell him at his dealer booth how awesome it was. It was really good. He's an awesome magician. Yeah.
He's the most humble guy, and I think most people know him through Real Magic Magazine, but I don't think most people know that he's a street performer or that he's like one of the best. And, you know, I think he's done like 50,000 shows. Like 50,000, like that's a tremendous amount. So he's just a machine, you know, he's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah. I have every issue of Real Magic Magazine. I love it.
Oh, me too. Yeah. Best value in magic, right?
There you go. So, yeah. Hey, also in my collection of DVDs and everything, I have a whole bunch of Hank Lee conclaves. I have VHS and DVDs. That's how I used to attend the convention. He'd sell the DVDs later on.
Oh my gosh, wow. If you have like a 1996 or a 97, like I'm totally going to drive down to Virginia and watch this.
Well, hey, so cool. You're welcome anytime. We have a guest room. But and we have an RV in the backyard. It'd be like a tiny house. You'll be set. We got to talk about that too. But
right, totally. Yeah.
But I have one that I know that was really awesome because Jonathan Pendragon was making a the Vanishing Birdcage, but he used piano wire and he used his back muscles, and he gets really involved into that, and it's pretty awesome. I don't know. I don't know if you were at that convention that year. I don't know what year that was. But it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, but, I don't think I saw that one.
That's
sounds
funny.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was funny. So so street performing. How long you been doing that? Are you doing it full time? How long you been doing it?
Well, I started in 2010, and I worked every single day for a season. Take maybe like one day a week off. And that was really cool. And then after that, I was kind of busy in grad school, and then I was a teacher for a while at a college. And so I would just kind of do it in the summers or winter breaks. Like one winter I went down to New Orleans and spent 10 days working down there, met some really amazing street magicians. And then we had kids, and I have 3 kids, and so that all really slowed down. And I did like a couple of private gigs here and there, and then really it's only very recently in the last year that I have been getting ready to kind of go full time. And then when COVID kind of lifted in the spring, I started street performing a lot, And so right now I am a full-time magician, but I'm really fortunate because my spouse also makes a good living, so I don't have to like support my entire family on my income. I just have to, contribute a good bit. But yeah, mostly it's street performing. Any weekend that I don't have gigs, I'm out there for like 10 hours, and then I usually go out a couple days during the week too. So yeah, and I think I'm planning on going to Vegas for 3 weeks coming up in November. And if that goes well, then in December I'll do like another 3 weeks. My spouse is going to be like moving to like part-time consulting so that I can travel more.
Are you going to go to Fremont?
Well, I've been talking to some buskers out there, and it sounds like I'll probably go back and forth between the Strip and Fremont. But I won't really know until I get there to really feel it out and see exactly where I fit in most. I'm really lucky because I can work without a table. I do use a table in my act mostly just, to draw attention, but I don't have to use one, which allows me to work in the Strip. So.
Well, I didn't realize there was busking on the Strip. I know there's people asking for pictures with dressed as a showgirl or something and handing out flyers, but is that their designated area?
No, so to work on the Strip, you can't put anything on the ground, which means that you can only use like a really tiny amp that you're wearing, and no table. So like you have to be completely self-contained.
Okay.
Yeah.
But also, does it seem legit? I haven't seen them. So, does it just look like somebody just showed up and is just doing a trick, or does it look like they're supposed to be there in that circle? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I do see what you're saying. I've not worked in Vegas before, so I can't really speak too much to it. But one of the nice things about the Strip is just that, there's not the lottery system.
Right.
But on Fremont, I think you can work until like 3 without the lottery. And then starting at 3, if somebody comes up and it's their designated spot, you gotta move along.
So let's tell everybody what the lottery is. We have listeners in 34 different countries. They don't know about Fremont Street. Fremont Street's downtown Vegas, and they have like a 3-foot circle that you perform in. Right? It's painted on the street. Is it like a 3-foot circle or 5-foot circle?
I'm not sure, Wes.
And they're numbered, and you put your name in a hat in a lottery. And they draw your name, and I think you only get that spot for like 1 hour. And that gives, if there's 40 spots, there might be 70 people that want a spot. So people put their name in the hat. I've heard of people putting their name in the hat as, their wife's name, their brother's name, their uncle's name. And that way, at least they get a spot. Hopefully their name gets drawn. There's all kinds of little tricks and things like that. I can tell you more off the air. But, yeah, it's crazy. That lottery system, they have to do something because it's so many people wanting to busk down there. I was talking to a magician friend of mine. They said, just Las Vegas proper and right outside, there's over 500 magicians. So there's lots of people trying to make money out there. So, but you're
totally.
But you're gonna kick butt. But you're better than 90% of them. I've seen you work.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, well, I think one of the things that allows me to kick butt is I kind of know how to, like, grind it out. I don't have a problem going out there for, like, 12 hours and just working and working and working. So, even if there's tons of people out there and, lots of competition or whatever, I can just make it work by grinding.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
How'd you do in New Orleans?
Oh, I had a blast in New Orleans. New Orleans is really cool. I was down there, trying to think, it was maybe 2015, and it was the year that they had a bowl game there. So there were all these people from like Alabama, and it was just really fun. It was really cool. I tried a couple of circle shows right in front of the cathedral. So in New Orleans, there's the French Quarter, which is kind of the place where like Bourbon Street is there for any listeners who are out of the country. And Bourbon Street is just like a place where people go and kind of party nonstop. And then there's like Royal Street, which has like lots of funky, cool stores, and it's like pedestrians only. And then there's Jackson Square, which is like a big giant square in front of this beautiful cathedral. And yeah, so I did a couple of shows in right in front of the cathedral, and that's typically where like the circle shows are. And one of the shows is really neat because by chance some in-laws were traveling there, and they wanted to set up their sister, right? And so I was in Pennsylvania, and I was like flying out the next day. They were flying out the next day, and I said, "Oh my gosh, this would be so good. Take this King of Spades and sign it, and put it in your sister's purse. And then when you come down to see my show, you know, we'll pretend we don't know each other." And then so I did an ambitious card routine for this in-law, you know, and his sister was there, who like is a local, and she didn't want to be there, and she had no idea that we knew each other. And the finale of this ambitious card routine was that his signed card went to this lady's purse.
That's awesome.
And it was really, really neat. And they never told her, and it's been like 6 years, and they still have not told her. So yes, it was really a neat little thing.
Don't let her see the link to this podcast. You don't want to ruin that. You don't want to ruin it.
I know.
That's awesome. So tell me, because I've never done the busking thing. How does the permits work? I mean, you can't just show up and do that. I know there's a lottery system there, but I mean, Cosmo says he goes to different towns and just tries out different things. He hears about it and he'll just jump on a plane and go there and try it out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's different everywhere you go. And I find that I've even, like this year, I've worked in towns that say that they don't allow busking, but I just work anyway. And, you know, I wave to the police and I smile and they wave back, and, you know, it's not really a problem. So, you know, like earlier this summer, I just kind of bounced from town to town. And like, I go to like touristy areas. So there's some like tourist towns in the Adirondacks, and there's lots of little like coastal villages in Maine. And those ones are great because a lot of street magicians, or, you know, there aren't a lot of buskers there. So you're novel, and, you know, there's no competition, until this podcast comes out, of course. But, so those are places where you don't really need permits, or if you do, I just don't get them. And then my main pitch, you have to audition for, and it's a really quaint little town in New England with 4 blocks of pedestrian street. And there is a lot of competition there. And on the weekends, like the big circle acts come from Boston, and it's really fun to watch those guys. And they draw like 200 people. You know, my shows are typically anywhere from 30 to 50, and like a really, really big show for me would be like 75 people. But these guys are just, you know, animals. They're amazing. And, but yeah, so my pitch, you know, you do need the permit, you do have to audition. Places like New Orleans, there's no permit, there's no auditions, but there's lots of competitions. So you usually split a pitch with 1, 2, or even more magicians. For like the circle, like where you do circle acts, there might be 6 or 7 magicians that are all taking turns, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you can inspire 50 magicians after this podcast to want to go out and do it. But it's a whole different beast doing the streets than it is doing a show. It's completely different.
Yeah, well, you know, it only takes perseverance. I think it was Gazo who said that you can only get better in this. You know, like if you go out there, you know, you might fail, you might not, but if you take the lessons that you learn and make some refinements the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day, like, you get better really fast out on the street. You know, for me, these days, I might do 12 or 14 shows in a day. So if I come up with, like, a new joke, I can tell it in the first show, and if it doesn't work, you know, I can either pull it or I can refine it, and then, you know, 10 minutes later, deliver it again. And so it's like a really amazing place to improve and to get better. And then it's also fun, like, for a long time, I did the exact same show, the same 3 tricks. I did that for like 8 years. But since the pandemic, I've been really creative and coming up with new acts, and also being hungry to learn new material. So you can go out there and at 10 in the morning, you know, be kind of new with maybe some act, and you just use it maybe to get people's attention, like silently. Like I was working on some new handling for making a silk disappear. And so just by myself, I would just kind of practice these moves and, you know, make it look very beautiful and lots of acting behind it. But really, I was just practicing. And then people would stop and I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going? And then I'd launch into my normal act. But I got to practice for, you know, 15 minutes every hour for 10 hours. And by the end of that, you're pretty good at it, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I did years and years of restaurant magic, and, you know, Svengali deck, you could do with your eyes closed. Your ambitious card, I mean, you don't even think about it. I mean, all these different things, and you buy a new magic trick, and you got 35 tables to try it out on that night. I mean, that's a lot of repetition. It's awesome. It's the same thing, yeah. You can't buy that.
35 tables, yeah, I mean, you're probably writing new jokes as you go, and I mean, by the end of the night, you know, you've got an act. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. And, you know, people was asking me, you know, what are you doing here still doing restaurants? And I'm like, you know, Chris Rock still has to go to tiny nightclubs to work on new material. You know, I can't charge $200 an hour for close-up magic and you try out new material. This is my place to try out new material and then, you know, bring it to my regular feed places. So it's the place to be bad, as McBride would say. You need a place to be bad. So, not that I was bad in the restaurants, but, you know, it's the place to try out new stuff. Mix it in the middle.
Yeah, for sure. You know, Wes, you know, we've been talking a lot, and, you know, I don't know a whole lot about the business of magic because most of my performing, I have not needed to, you know, get hired. I just go out on the street and do it. But, you know, this year I created a brand new act, and I started performing it, I think, in, you know, April or May. And then, you know, I went to that convention where we met, and I performed that for, I don't know how many magicians were in the audience, but 50 or 60. And you know, it felt like I'd been doing that act for years and years and years. Now, I mean, granted, there was one trick in there that I had been doing for years, but it's just because I had that opportunity to go out on the street and just work it and work it and work it. So, yeah, I think, you know, the street, like the restaurants, are just the greatest way to improve and get to know your craft. And, yeah.
Well, let me brag about you a little bit. I was taking the pictures of that convention, so I saw everything through the lens, which means I only saw a minute about. I'm moving, jumping up and down in chairs, running around. You killed. You were awesome. Everybody loved it. But the comments afterwards from all these big-name magicians, big-name East Coast magicians, were just raving about you. People were like, where did she come from? Who is she? Why have I never heard of her? It was amazing. You killed it that night. It was awesome, girl.
Oh, thanks for telling me. I appreciate that. I had so much fun. At one point during that show, I looked out and I felt like I was just in complete rapport with the audience. And I just kind of like paused for a minute and just scanned everyone. And I said, this is the greatest moment of my life. And, you know, I mean, like having kids aside and getting married aside, like it really was. And I think people thought like I was making a joke, but, you know, because they all laughed. But it was true. Like it was so wonderful to be able to perform for, you know, my colleagues and my peers. And yeah, it was really, really a special thing.
Well, you had a Bill and Kiwi that was phenomenal. People kept commenting. I had a friend of mine, Wayne Allen, who's a FISM winner. He came over to my house the following, I guess it was 2 days later, because he was traveling back down after visiting his kids. And he was saying, her spoon bending, her fork bending, it was just, I haven't seen anything that good in a long time. I mean, that girl, where did she come from? How does she do that well? Is that hers? Is that something you can buy? Oh my gosh. And he was just on and on and on about you. It was just, you did awesome, girl. You killed it.
Wow. Yeah, I met Mr. Allen after my performance, and he was super nice. And he actually gave me a couple of really neat ideas for little gags to add to the show. And yeah, he was a really cool guy. I'm glad I got to meet him.
Yeah, well, and they had never done that setup the way they did to let you have a street performance type thing. Even when Cosmo was there 10 years ago, 9 years ago, he performed on the stage and just did his thing. You actually
Yeah.
had the circle going, and you could play off the entire audience and do your regular thing. You didn't have to change it a bit. And it was awesome. People really loved
Yeah,
it because it gave it that street energy that the stage would suck away. You wouldn't have that on the stage. You wouldn't have that intimacy on stage.
Yeah, it was a really, really awesome way to perform for them all. And I felt like it also added texture to the convention, you know, just because it was very different, a totally different format. But I'm so grateful to Mark D'Souza for trusting in me and for hiring me. And, you know, he didn't really know who I was, and he didn't really know exactly what I did, but I just wrote a really compelling letter, and I pitched that idea about doing the street performance style, and he jumped on it, and I'm so glad he did. It was just the coolest thing.
I didn't realize that was your idea. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, he told me that they want to keep doing it, and I told him next year, well, make sure you bring Cosmo back and have him do it. You know, I know he's already performed there, but still.
Well, it's been a long time, and he didn't do it. He didn't do it in the semicircle type situation either, and that's that night waiting. So you did it the night of the gala show where everybody's waiting in line. And this is a small room. I mean, every seat's a good seat. It's not that big of a stage. I mean, it seats like 150 people. There's not a bad room in that room. But for some reason, the gala show, people get there like an hour and a half early and wait in line. And it's like, why? You can get there late, stand up in the back, and see just as good. But you gave people something to do during that wait. And it was fantastic. It was awesome. It was an amazing idea. I loved it.
Thanks, Wes. I appreciate it.
So anyway... You're not only doing street performing, though. You're branching out into family shows as well?
That's right. Yeah.
So how long have you been doing family shows?
Well, I mean, I started doing some family shows when I was a little kid. And, you know, I did some when I was like 19 and 20. But then for a long time, I really didn't do very many of them. And it's really just in the last, since the pandemic started to cool off a little bit. So, like March. And I've only done like a handful, like maybe I've done like 15 or something like that. And then we moved, which really kind of slowed things down. Like I was getting to the point where I was getting about one every week. And then when we moved, I kind of had to start all over again. And so that's where I'm at. We're also in a much more rural area. Like I can drive to that really good busking location. But the population is kind of small, so I'm still kind of figuring all that out, which is why I'm going to go to Vegas in November, just because I don't have any bookings in November yet, so it's nice to have the street performing to fall back on, you know.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, you told me about, I don't know if you want to tell the world about it, but you have a thing with an owl, I think?
Yeah.
Can you tell the world about it? I just think it's really neat that you tie it all together. Or how does that work in the show?
Okay. So, my family show is called the Alyx and Friends Show. And right now, I really only have one friend, and that is a little owlet named Owly. And it's not a real owl, of course. But yeah, I'm just trying to bring... something that the kids will kind of remember, kind of like a hook. And I got this idea from a really wonderful children's magician named James Munton. And James does 400 school shows every year. And he's, really, really, really good children's entertainer down in Texas. And anyway, he kind of helped me to see that I needed to distinguish myself. So this owlet is the way that I do that. And the owl does a couple tricks. And I do a chop cup routine with the kids. And at one point, I'm so excited by the final load that I look over to share my excitement with my friend Owly, the owlet. And Owly is gone. And I'm really perplexed. And then the kids kind of figure it out because they can see the owl's furry feet just barely sticking out from underneath the cup, and then they all scream, and so I lift the cup and here the owl has gone underneath my chop cup
as a load.
And,
that's awesome.
Things like that. Yeah, and I'm working on a nice zombie routine, and I in my head I feel like a zombie with an outlet makes more sense than, other floating things. So,
they can fly.
I don't know. We'll see how that one goes.
It can fly already.
But,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it.
Thanks.
So you got the street performing, you got family shows. I don't know. Are you thinking about doing anything else? Are you thinking about branching into schools and libraries and restaurants? Anything else? Or are you just gonna focus on those two? And there's so many different avenues you can go being full time.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So I think my thinking is that I'm going to break this show in with the birthdays, and then once I get some nice promo material, which I've been working on, I'm going to start to let all the libraries know. I've been putting together a database. So I've got this database of every single library in my state, and so I'm going to be hopefully doing a lot of library shows next summer. And then hopefully the library show will, develop more and more and more, and, break the show in more, and I'll diverge into school shows. So that's kind of the plan. Wes, we've been talking a lot. I don't know a ton about the business, but in my head, it makes sense to start with the birthdays, then go to the library, and then go to the school. And then I've been talking to this really cool guy named, Wes Iseli, who is helping me to learn more about restaurants. So, so thank you, Wes. And I am hoping to, fill my schedule with restaurants, too.
Awesome. Well, yeah. I don't know which way you're going, though. And one thing, I have to apologize for a couple of things. I know I've been doing this so long, and I have so many ideas, and I do so many things. And I know I can overwhelm people, too. So I don't want to overwhelm you and give you too many ideas. I want to spitball what ideas, and you take what you like and, just forget everything else. But I know I can be overwhelming. And also...
I'm hungry for ideas. And, I'm all about it. I am so, head first into this. And so, because if I... I know that I can make street performing work, but I don't really want to travel year round because I got 3 little kids.
Right.
So I need to, where I live in New England, it gets cold. I'm sitting outside right now talking to you because I live in a tiny house on wheels and it's loud in there. And it's cold out here. So, the street performing is really going to be really seasonal, especially hopefully after this winter. This winter I'll travel, and then I'm hoping to be able to work more locally. So yeah, I'm totally hungry for as many ideas as I can get, and and kind of try it all, and then find my place.
Well,
and have street as the backup.
Well, one thing I definitely believe in is there's enough business out there for everybody. If you don't, I think for me, I'm spitballing and telling you everything I do and showing you examples of everything I do. I don't pull any punches. I'm totally honest. And there's enough work for everybody. It's just that people want to sit back and wait for the phone to ring so they don't get it. And I'm guilty of it too. I could have been doing more in the office today, but I had other things going on. Another thing I need to apologize to you about is I have this thing in the back of my mind that I have to tell you everything in 30 seconds. When I first met you, it was at a convention, at dinner, and it was blah, 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 eat. Oh, I got to go take pictures. And then the next time I saw you, it was after your show, and everybody's shaking your hand. Next time I saw you, it was after the gala show, and everybody's leaving. And then I never got to, I did see you in the hospitality suite, and I talked to you for 3 hours. It's one of those things where, and I get you on the phone, and I'm talking your ear off, and I got one of these things in my head that if I don't get everything out to you, I'll never be able to talk to you again. And I'm sorry. I know I have that going on with you, so you just tell me, hey, Wes, we can talk tomorrow. I gotta go.
Oh, no, I think that's, kind of typical of magicians. I could talk about this stuff for, till the cows start mooing or something. I don't know what that phrase is, but
till the cows come
I can
home.
Talk about this stuff forever. Thank you.
Till they start mooing? Is that what she said? That's not very long. No, I have a friend, Jimmy Miller. He was a famous basketball player. He was on the podcast, and I do the same thing with him, but he wants to learn magic, and he'll come over to my house, and I'll show him 800 tricks in 3 hours. And he's
Oh,
like,
my gosh.
I don't remember any of it. So he'll pull out his camera and start
Yeah.
videotaping it, and on the way home, and he'll call me over the next 3 days. What was that trick again? What was the name of that trick? And what was that? And because when I see him, it's only in small increments, and somehow I've locked you into, I only have you for a short amount of time, and I want to show you everything. So I'm apologizing because I feel it. When you called me the other time and we talked restaurants, I got on the phone and I started apologizing immediately. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. But here, I need to tell you this. I need to tell you this. And, oh, I'm getting out of order. I need to tell you this. I need to tell you this. So, sorry. I'm
No,
crazy.
it was so cool. Yeah, Wes, you give such amazing advice, and I think I filled like 10 pages of my notebook with your advice, and then I went out the next day and I talked to 5 different general managers, and well, I talked to 4, one of them wasn't there, and they all loved it, you know, like they loved the stuff that I was telling them, which came right from you, and you know, I did my my fork bending for them, the same thing that you said that Wayne Allen liked, and they were blown away. You know, like I saw this one manager go back and he was like showing all the other managers, and you know, because he was going to get his contact info for me,
That's
and
awesome.
they were like looking at it and inspecting it. So anyway, it would have worked, except just like up here with like COVID, I think in the north up here, like people are just a little more cautious, and so like all of them wanted to hire me. And they all said, you know, can you come back and talk to us in January, because people are just really cautious about COVID and approaching tables, but we want you. And so, I mean, it was amazing to be desired by 4 out of the 5 restaurants. And, you know, the only one that didn't want me was the manager was too busy to talk to me. So
That's awesome.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. So in a couple months, I mean, I think I'll have a full schedule, you know?
Girl, I love it. I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, me too.
And you know what? Hey,
super grateful.
and what I love about you is your passion for magic. That's what draws me to you, because I definitely have that. I mean, Natalie, do I ever sit around and just watch magic videos?
All the time.
All the time. I'm always surfing the internet and trying to find magic videos, and I love it. I love everything about it. And you're passionate and you're hungry, and just remember this: when you have a full schedule and you're doing 9 restaurants 6 days a week, and you're busking on the weekends, and you're doing kids' birthday parties and school shows during the days during the week. I mean, imagine how crazy your schedule could be. Don't let the job mess you up. You know, when I did restaurants, it got to a point where I was clocking in every Monday night. I got to be at this restaurant. Every Tuesday night, I got to be at this restaurant. Just remember that you just wanted to be a full-time magician. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
Be thankful. Be thankful and enjoy the ride. That's all I can say. Because
yeah, totally.
Because it flies by.
Advice.
It flies by. I did it for, I think, 15 years. And, heck, 20 years. I don't know how many years. But, I mean, it flies by. So, enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Tiny houses are very popular nowadays. Can you tell me about your tiny house?
Yeah, so we built a tiny house. So over the last year, we decided that we wanted to move closer to where family was, and I wanted to be closer to this really good street performing pitch. And so we were going to build a house, but we just couldn't afford it. So we did build a house, but we made it really small, and it's on a trailer. So basically, we built like a house on a 28-foot flatbed trailer, and it has 2 lofts, which is where my kids sleep, and I have 3 children, so there's 5 of us in 250 square feet plus 2 lofts. But it's working out really good. We've been in it for a couple months now, and we really like it. We're not minimalists, so we have a little cabin on the property where we parked it that we keep, like, you know, bins of magic, and I have boxes and boxes of magic books, and my kids have, like, seasonal clothes and toys and stuff. But as far as, like, living in the tiny house, it's pretty cool, you know?
Wow, we're in a 29-foot RV right now, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, wow. But this area right here would be living space too.
Yeah.
Where the seats are.
Where he's pointing up front where you drive. And everything,
that would be living space there too. There's a loft. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, you know, to make it like more livable, we put some luxuries in it. Like we have a clawfoot bathtub, and we put a huge island table in it that all 5 of us can like sit around like really comfortably. And so I think, you just have to have those little tiny luxuries, and then we use every ounce of space. Like we have so many like little hidden drawers and tons and tons of, little cupboards. So, like when you use the space, it's not too bad.
So have you thought about doing any YouTube videos? People love tiny houses.
Yeah, I know I should. I have a little YouTube channel that I put some really amateurish magic videos on during COVID, just because I needed like a little outlet to the rest of the world. But I don't know, Wes. I mean, it would be really neat to have that. Like, I think that like a tiny house and magic YouTube channel could be kind of novel.
Yeah.
But I'm not a very good video editor, and I don't really like video editing, so I don't know.
I know somebody that could teach you.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah, my publicist made her own television show, and she's pitching it right now, and I set her up with the software, and she won an award in LA for a new comedy of the year documentary sitcom or something. Yeah, so
Oh, no way.
I have no idea.
Wow.
I don't know what it was, but she won some kind of award, even though it hasn't been picked up or aired anywhere. But but anyway, yeah. So she was able to do it. Yeah.
Well, you never know. Maybe a year from now, I'll be a YouTube sensation, like your publicist and you.
Well,
So it could be cool.
I don't know about that, but I mean, just telling people about start with a magic trick and then talk about, a new secret cubby space in your tiny home, or what you guys did to your tiny home, or that could be neat.
Yeah.
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 I don't know.
I won't rule it out for sure.
Somehow I got you know how you go down rabbit holes on YouTube? I got on a tiny home rabbit hole, and I saw all kinds of neat things, and it's like, wow. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'd love to see yours.
We should look at some of those things just to organize stuff around our own house. I mean, we don't have a tiny home, but we could use the organizational skills of a tiny home in our home. So.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'd like to pack more crap in our RV, so having more secret passages and more drawer space or something. I don't know. We just have big open cabinets that it's just a big open cabinet, and we don't know how to.
Yeah.
We don't know how to cubby it up.
Yeah.
I got to figure that out.
It's a typical RV, with the. Yeah. So.
Anyway.
Well, I'll tell you my favorite little tiny house hack, and it's toe kick drawers. So underneath the kitchen cabinets, there's like the toe kick that, is wasted space. And we turn those into pull-out drawers. And that's like where all our junk drawers are, and like our paperwork and stationery drawers. And so, yeah.
Move your foot.
Think about toe kick drawers.
My wife has her foot on my lap. I need to see if I have space underneath my kitchen. That would be awesome. I have a vent. Daggone it.
Oh, no.
I love it. I love it, though. I love it.
Space.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it would just be fun to look at that kind of stuff. So, you and I hit it off at the convention. How did it happen? Did you approach me? Did I approach you? I don't remember.
I was sitting, like, maybe before a lecture, I think, and you came over and you asked me for my autograph, and that was the first time that had ever happened in my entire life. And at the time, I didn't quite recognize you because, you had your mask on, but we struck up a conversation, and you mentioned that you had been on Fool Us, and then, and you left, and then there was a lecture, and I'm like, oh my God, I think that was the guy who won Fool Us with, $50 and a piece of paper, and I went and I asked you, and you said, yep, that was me. And that was like the coolest thing for me was to meet you. That was super cool. And then I think maybe we got lunch, and yeah.
But Hal didn't mention me beforehand? Or?
No, Hal had not mentioned you.
Okay. Because somehow we said that, we had a mutual friend, Hal, and then Hal called me.
Right. Yeah, I think I texted Hal, and I said, oh, I met Wes, and he was, like, super cool, and he was giving me all this business advice, and And then I think he called you up. So, yeah.
Yeah, Hal's awesome. How'd you meet Hal?
Hal is the best. Well, Hal found me. I had been posting lots of these little magic videos to a Facebook group for magicians. And it was, again, I think I mentioned this before, like, that was just kind of my way of, like, not feeling lonely when we were all in, like, lockdown. And I met some amazing magicians through that Facebook group, and Hal was one of them. And at the time, I was working on an act. It was actually supposed to be a Fool-Us act that the producers asked me to put together, but it didn't go anywhere. But I was working on it, and he offered to give me director's notes, and so I didn't know who he was. And I was kind of like, who is this guy? But all right, like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll practice on Zoom and you can give me feedback. And he gave me really amazing feedback. And then we just kind of started, sending some messages back and forth. And I found out that he was good friends with my mentor, John Blake, the former co-owner of Tannins, who taught me manipulation. And, and so Hal, because he was a stage manipulator, I think he was, I think he liked the fact that I was into manipulation, because, a lot of young magicians, well, I don't know if I'm young, I'm like 35, but, like magicians my age don't really do a lot of that stuff sometimes, and so we had that common thing, and then he just started helping me, and he helped me navigate some, like, PR issues I was having, and he connected me with, Vanish International Magazine, and so, something is coming out with that coming up soon, and
oh, wow.
So Hal has just been really,
wait,
really
is that
amazing.
exclusive? Is that exclusive for the podcast?
Yeah, I don't even know if I was supposed to say anything.
We won't highlight it anymore. You'll have to rewind it.
Okay, yeah,
well, congratulations. Congratulations.
I didn't see what it was.
That's awesome.
So
hey, anything. You got your name in it. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, cool. So, Hal's has been really, really wonderful, and he's just the nicest guy ever. He checks in with me like once a week and asks how the family's doing and how Tiny Life is doing, and he kind of feels like family. He's just a really wonderful person. Hal
came from nowhere, and I think I met him at MAES, just like you, and then it's just he became family. I mean, it's just that quick. He was doing a lecture tour. He spent the night here at the house, and I mean, he's like a brother to me. I love that guy. Yeah, he's awesome.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I love magic and my magic friends. It just means the world to me, man. And Hal's awesome. Yeah.
There's such wonderful, wonderful people in magic. It's really cool.
Well, girl, I can't wait to see pictures from you in Vegas street performing. I can't wait to see where you turn up in the new year with all of your restaurant gigs and all your other bookings. I'm super proud of you, and I'm happy to call you my friend. You're awesome, girl.
Thank you. It was such an honor to be on the show, Wes and Natalie, and I've just have enjoyed the last couple weeks of conversations tremendously, and I'm looking forward to seeing where the friendship goes, and thank you again for having me on your show.
Hey, you call me anytime. Any questions you have, you call me, anytime. You don't have to schedule an appointment. Just call. If I can't talk to you, I'll get right back to you. I promise. I
appreciate that.
How about a website?
Yeah.
Do you have a website for all the listeners? They can check you out?
I definitely do. My website is www.alyxmagic.com, and I spell Alyx with a Y, so that's ALYX magic.com.
Awesome. Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, any of that stuff?
Yeah, if you want to check me out on Instagram, it's Alyx the Magician. And again, Alyx is with a Y, ALYX the Magician.
Awesome, girl. Thank you so much. I can't wait to have you on again sometime and see where this all has led to. You were awesome. You blew away the convention. You're making all the right connections. You're doing all the right business stuff. You just got to have the stick-to-itness, and you're gonna go there, girl. You're gonna live your dream. I just know it.
Thanks, Wes. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all the help you've been giving. It's really, really invaluable.
Well, I'm here for you anytime. You're awesome. Stay on the line real fast. I have a couple plugs for you, and then we'll wrap everything up. Thank you. You're awesome. That's alyxmagic.com, everybody. That's Alyx Hilshey. And that's it. That's today's podcast. We are so happy to announce that our new show merch is available at wesisley.com. That's logo t-shirts, my TV and podcast t-shirts, my Magic playing cards, Magic hats, stickers, and more. Check it all out at wesisley.com. And Season 2 of Wes Iseley's Magiclife is over, but you can still binge watch all of Season 1 and 2 on Jewel TV. Jewel TV is on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, the Jewel TV app, and tons of other places. It's in over 100 million households. All you have to do is look for it. See you next week. Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by Express Copy and Graphics. Mention promo code Wes Iseli to get 10% off. Their website is expresscopy.com. That's XPRESS-COPY.com. They do it all. Copies, banners, signs, vehicle wraps, promo items, practically anything you need printed, they can do it for you. These guys are great. Check them out. Check us out online at wesisley.com and patreon.com/Wes_Isley for behind-the-scenes videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled WESISELI.